Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever happens to be the time where you are today. Let's practice casting off of our loom. I've been working on this blanket the last couple of evenings in the linen stitch. So you can see it's basically the purl stitch, just a little bit bigger. Because I've been doing the linen stitch, I'm actually going to do one row of purls all the way across just to finish up my blanket before I cast off. Now remember we talked about this drop stitch right here? So this time, because it's my last loop, I'm actually going to pick this stitch up. I'm not going to double stitch it. So I'm going to pull this one off the loom and purl stitch it, which is just the knit stitch, except you're going through from the front to the back this time. Put that back on the loop, give that a little pull. You see there's my purl right there? I'm going to purl them all the way across, okay? Give them a little pull. I find it easier if you keep your working yarn on your blanket side to do the purl versus the board side to do the knit. It just helps you remember where you're supposed to be, what side you're supposed to be working your yarn through from. This is the first time I've actually done the linen stitch all on one blanket. I've done samples just to show people, but this is the first time I've done a whole blanket in it. I kind of like it. I think it maybe uses a little bit more yarn than like a knit stitch or just a plain purl stitch, but it's definitely tighter. And I kind of like the look it actually gives, to be honest. This misty green color seems to be very popular right now. Everyone loves this sage green. This is called Misty Green. It's from Knit Blanket Big. I just buy them at Michael's here in Canada. I made a mistake there for a second. I thought I did a knit stitch when I was daydreaming. Almost there. All right, now you'll see this one is also a drop stitch. There's two stitches here. So I'm going to do them together, but the end stitches are always knit stitches. That keeps your braid consistent. So what I'm going to do is put my yarn on the opposite side now, pull both of these off the peg, put my working yarn through the center, create a new loop, and there's the knit stitch. Drop the old stitches, put the new stitch on the peg, just give a little pull. Now I'm ready to cast off. Now casting off just works from peg to peg all the way across, and you're basically going to do the knit stitch, but you're going to make it a little bit bigger. I find 3 fingers is about perfect. So here we go. Let's start here. Pull this one off the peg. Put my working yarn through exactly like I'm going to do a knit stitch, but I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. 3 fingers. I usually like to put it back on the peg just to hold it in place for myself. Another one. 3 fingers. All the way across. We're just going to work right to left. And don't worry, you may not perfect casting off the very first time. It does take a little practice, but you'll get it. Just keep practicing. That's the best thing about this hobby. You could tear it apart and redo it 100 times if you wanted to. And it's not going to cost you any more money, just some more time. But if that's what it takes for you to perfect your project and to be completely happy with it, then I would say it's worth it. I've torn apart many things just to get it looking the way I want, especially if I'm trying something new, a new stitch. I'll tear it apart. No worries. Put it all back together. Three fingers. Drop it back on the peg. Slide along. You always want to make sure you also have enough yarn to do this at the end. They say about 3 times the length of your loom is perfect. If you didn't have enough, you would get halfway across and realize you didn't have enough. You'd have to just like tear out a row and start again. So not the end of the world, but they say that's a good rule of thumb, is 3 lengths of your loom. 3 fingers, drop it back on the peg. Three fingers, drop it back on your peg. 3 fingers, drop it back on your peg. Here we are, we're coming up to the end, last 3 pegs. Right there. One more, and then we're on our last loop. There we go, drop it back on our peg. Last one, look at that, I probably left just the perfect amount. That worked out well. All right, same thing, 3 fingers, drop that back on your peg. Let's just put our yarn off to the left to get out of the way. All right. Now what we're going to do is go back over here to our first peg that we did when we were casting off. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this one off the peg and the next one off the peg. So last one and second last one. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a braid that looks just like our starting braid. So last one, second last one. This peg has 18 pegs, so let's call this 18 and 17. 17 is going to go through the center of 18. We're just going to crisscross them just like this. Now pull 17 across. Pull it across to number 16. Take 16 off a peg. Put 16 through the center of 17. Make them crisscross. Pull 16 across to 15. 15 comes off. 15 goes through the center of 16. You see what I'm doing here? Just go right straight across. Here's 14 through 15. Pull 14 across. 13 through 14. Pull 13 across to 12. Take 12 off the peg. Put 12 through the center of 13. Pull 12 across to 11. Put this one through the center. And pull it across the next one. You can see how I'm coming off my loom here. I'm starting to get this end braid right here. And just keep going all the way across, all right? To the next one. To the next one, and so on. You don't have to put those bigger loops back on the peg if you don't want to. I just do because it helps me keep them in order. Kind of keeps me organized, that's all. Here we go, last few. There we go, second last one. And the last one, how about that? There we go. Let's move that loom just out of the way a little bit. All right, now you can see we have this last loop. What do we do with it? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our working yarn right here. We're just going to put it through the center of that loop and pull it all the way through. Just like that. Now all I'm going to do is just cinch that up. There we go. And there's our knot. How's that for a corner? Now you can see I've got a braid across the bottom, a braid down the side, and that will be around the bottom, also the other end, and on the far right. That creates a nice border. This way you don't even need to create a border if you don't want to. It would still be really nice if you took some white or some off-white and created a border all the way around this, or whatever the complementary color you like. But you don't have to once you've done the corners like this and the edges like this. It creates a nice border itself. Now let's finish this blanket off. I like to cut, maybe leave about 3-4 inches or so. Pull the extra fuzz off of here, any extra fuzz, because it just doesn't need to be there. Set that aside. Now I'm going to do with this tail is I'm going to braid it. I'm going to weave it in. I'm going to try and hide it. Anywhere through is fine. It'll disappear. You won't even see it. I think maybe one more. There we go. All right, now here is the fun part, or the more dangerous part, depending on how you're looking at it, all right? Now I need to fuse this to my blanket. So if you feel right here, you'll feel there's almost sort of like a wick of a candle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light that on fire, and then I'm going to fuse it to my blanket like this. That'll just completely hide it and seal the end, okay? Here we go. You're going to want to be careful. You don't want to get hurt. It'll be hot, so just be careful. Take your time. I just hold it in place like this for maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Give it a chance to cool. All right, let's see. Perfect. Perfect. So beginning tail still needs to be done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this blanket over. And in doing that, I can show you the back side of the linen stitch, what it looks like. So here's the back side of what the linen stitch looks like. It pretty much looks like a knit stitch with a little bit of extra space in between, but it comes out pretty cool. All right, here we go. Same process. I'm going to cinch this up, make sure it's tight. Now every ball of yarn comes rounded at the end, and we need this flat. So we're going to cut this off just a little bit at the end and make it flat. Let's get rid of our little piece. Make sure there isn't any extra fuzzies on here because they just don't need to be. There's that wick right there in the center. I'm going to braid this through my blanket, just like I said earlier, to hide it. There we go. Okay. Now I'm ready to set this on fire and fuse it into my blanket. So right here, find that wick, light that on fire. There we go. Took a minute. And boom. There we go. Done. Just hold that for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Make sure it cools. Give it a little tug test. Awesome. We're done. This blanket is complete. So I haven't measured this blanket yet, but it was made with 4 skeins of the Bernat Blanket Big. And took me, I guess, maybe like 4 hours altogether, kind of thing. It really wasn't too bad. Didn't take too long. And if you're wanting a tutorial on how to do the linen stitch, just let me know in the comments and I'll put together a tutorial for you. It's really not too hard. It's pearls and skipping different pegs, and then it comes together, and I can show you how very easily, okay? Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a great day.